Thank you so much. Thank you. Right. Let's stop this music and start to discuss what we should do to actually try and make it easy to draw a human figure. Alright, let's start. First of all, guys, there are lots of things that we need to at least not fully learn but to be aware of. Okay? So, when I'm talking about drawing human figure, whatever I do first is observe and analyze. This is like the most important part about drawing a human figure. Or this is at least like the first part of it, the first stage. Okay? So, how would we do that? Let's say this is the human figure that we are trying to draw. Alright? So, the first thing is observing and learning. But when I'm saying observing and analyzing, what you actually trying to observe, what you try to analyze. The first thing is the long lines. What I mean by long lines, I'm talking about the flow of the, the shape itself, the flow. When I'm trying to draw, I always start with a gesture. And a gesture means I use big lines or long lines, S curves like C curves, and so on. Alright, so that will help a lot to make it flowy, alright, to make it more dynamic. Some people are trying to make or trying to draw human figures, but they end up with stiff human figures. And that's why, because they don't know how to use the S curves and the C curves, alright? And they incorporate too much straight lines while drawing, like this, this, like this. That will end up and make it looks stiff. Alright. But how we use the S curves? You are saying like now you need to use the S curves or C curves, but how do you actually use it? How is that? And why should I use it? As I said, to make it dynamic, to make it flowy. But what do you mean by long lines? First of all, guys, gesture for me is just expressing the way, expressing, conveying a message to the viewer. I need to draw a gesture that actually close to what she's actually doing. So she's kinda leaning this way, alright? And she has a leg in front like she is walking. So I have to convey the message she is trying to convey the viewer. She's trying to say, okay, I'm walking right now. How you gonna interpret that? This is how I do it while drawing the gesture. I'm looking for big lines or long lines. As you see in here, there is a line called line of action. What is this line of action? the line of action for me is the one that connecting the torso. This one. It's like the center of the human figure. There is a long curve. This side represent this leg, and also there is a curve in here making another flowy line to the other leg. If we're gonna show it like this, it's going to be this way. These are the big lines I'm trying to convey, I'm trying to draw. Alright? So what is the second thing? The second thing I'm trying to take care of is the shoulder line and the hip line. To make it flowy, to make it dynamic, you have to have different direction for both of those. If you're gonna go this way for a shoulder line, go for that way for a hip line. Or otherwise, the opposite. If you're gonna go for the shoulder line like this, go for the hip line like this. If the both are actually like doing like this, then she's kind of standing. So there is no flow about it. So I have here the shoulder line going this way, okay, and I have the hip line going the other way. That's how I determine the flow of this shape, as you see right here. So what is actually next? The next thing is the stretch and the pinch. The stretch and the pinch is the result of having different directions for shoulder line and hip line. So how is that? If I have here in this side there is a stretch, alright, yeah, it makes sense. This is a stretch because of this shoulder line, and this is the hip line. These are actually going away from each other, so they are making that stretch, and these are going close to each other, so they are making the pinch. When this distance is close to each other, these 2 points are close to each other, they're gonna make this pinch. And these points are away from each other or far from each other, then they're gonna make the stretch. And that's how you get this shape. Alright? This is like the most important part about a gesture. The torso. The shoulder line, hip line, flowy curves, and then we go to the other part, which is the other stage. I already have done the big part. Some people don't know the importance of a gesture, but it is like the first and the most important stage, as we say, for the final result. All right, what again? What is else? We have also, we might say there is something we can combine it together, like perspective and wrapping lines. And what I mean by that, first of all, guys, the human figure is actually like this. We have, if we draw the profile part of it, it is going like this. All right. So we have like from the profile view, we have like a zigzag. All right. The head, the neck is going like this. Then the rib cage is actually shown like this. Then the hips is going backwards. The thigh is going this way and this way, and here we have a zigzag. That's actually how we are created. That will help us to be balanced. So the normal, and keep in mind I'm talking the normal view of a rib cage is like this. So we already, if we're gonna treat it as a cylinder, we already seen the lower plane of it. Alright? We have this part of it, the down plane of it. Plane plan, I don't know how to say it. Okay? And for the hips, we're gonna treat it also as a cylinder. We're gonna see the upper part of it. That's how a human body is actually formed. Alright? This is like the normal way of. So if we're gonna deal with the rib cage and the pelvis as cylinders, we're gonna see it like this. If we're gonna treat it as like a curved shapes or a egg shape, it's gonna be shown like this. That's how we see like the rib cage. And the pelvis is gonna be shown like this. If you're going to change it to boxes, it's going to be, I'm drawing it on the 3/4 view. It's gonna be like this. This is the line of action, and the pelvis is going to be shown also like this. This is the normal shape of the torso, the normal shape of the rib cage, and also the hip or the pelvis. Alright, we already see the lower parts of it, the lower plan of the rib cage and the upper plan of the pelvis. So if I'm going to show that on the drawing we have, she is actually looking like this. The rib cage will be shown like this. I'm already seeing the lower part of the rib cage. This is the neck, the part that will be attached to the neck, and this is the rib cage. If I'm going to see the pelvis, it's going to be like this. I'm seeing the upper plan of the pelvis. This is how it's going to look like. Alright? So, if I'm going to turn this one into boxes or whatever you're gonna go with, or even a cylinder, I'm gonna show it like this. And if this is also a cylinder, I'm gonna show it like this. Here you go. Lower of the rib cage and the upper of the pelvis. Again, what about a box? If I'm going to draw like a box, let's say it's gonna look like this. I'm seeing the lower, and since she is kinda tilted, so it's going to be like this. Alright guys, so what I'm actually trying to do is just seeing how is the perspective of her body looks like, and that will lead us to the second thing I was talking about, which is the rapid lines. What is the rapid lines? As you see in here, if I'm doing a cylinder like this, and I'm seeing the lower part, that means this cylinder is going towards us. So it's leaning from the back, or the top of it just leaning to the back, and this is going here. It's like going toward us, and the curve is going to follow the shape of the cylinder. Alright, it's going to follow this curve. If I'm gonna do the other way, that means the cylinder is actually going away from us. The bottom of it going away from us. So the curve is going also to follow the shape of it. How we gonna detect that here, or how we gonna do this here? Like this way. Do it like this. This is a wrapping line. It takes the shape of the rib cage, since we already know it's going back, leaning back from here. So that means also this one is going actually to the back from the top of it, and this is going toward us. So I'm seeing the lower part of it. So I'm gonna draw this one as a rib cage is actually wrapping like this. And also for this one, it's going to wrap around like this. If you do not actually know how to do it, you might take some landmarks or even watch here. So as you seen here, this the shirt the top she's actually wearing is wrapping this way, and as you seen here, or this line, it is wrapping like this way. So that actually helps me while drawing the clothes. These wrapping lines help me while drawing the clothes, or even while drawing the shape also. Because when I draw the gesture, I like to do these wrapping lines, which shows the direction of the body. And it comes handy when drawing the limbs. When I'm talking about the arms and the legs, as you see right here, if I consider this as a cylinder, it comes toward us. The thigh is actually comes toward us. Yes, I'm Egyptian, yeah. It comes toward us. So it's going to follow the curve. I'm sorry I don't have the accent, so I am Egyptian. Okay? And for this one in the back, the leg is going to be like this. These wrapping lines helps me a lot while drawing to show the direction of the cylinders. Alright guys? So now when I'm seeing it like this, I already figure out that this one is like ahead of this one. And again, if you want like again a landmark or a help, look here. Look at this leg. See that curve? That will help you a lot to figure this out. Contour line so under it is. That's why I'm saying it really helps a lot to figure out how to understand the cylinders. So what about this leg? It also coming toward us. If you can't detect or determine or check about something, just you don't need to, if this one you don't actually know if it's come toward us or just the leg is actually bended like this, you don't need to actually distract yourself from the fact that all you need to do, you might just go like this and then like this. You don't need to make plans or whatever. It's, oh, Shreya, thank you so much. I'm glad it helps you a lot. Oh, I'm sorry, I haven't. Mm, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm glad it helps. Alright, and this one is going to be this way. This is this way, and this is the other way. As you see, I'm actually trying to figure out the position, the direction of it. If we see this one and you can detect if it is going toward us or away from us, just do it as it is. Just a rectangle. This one we know it's going toward us, so I'm seeing this plane and it's going to be like this. This one is going like away from us since it's just going to the back. So we're gonna wrap it this way. And if you see, we also have this part, it's actually wrapping like this. So that's why it helps a lot. When the head also, if we're gonna consider a head as a cylinder, she's looking up. So it will be wrapping like this. The brush I'm using, first of all, I'm using Clip Studio Paint. Alright? And the brush I'm using, it is called Calligraphy. The pen, Calligraphy. But I'm tweaking it a little bit, which is the opacity. I'm using the pen pressure. Okay, and this one, whatever, I can actually the anti-aliasing, which one of these, it doesn't matter. And stabilization, I'm going to the lowest, so I can go freely without a lag. Okay. If I'm going to watch how do you use an angled brush consistently if the brush is tilted, on how do you add line weight? Actually, I don't bother myself about things like what you're talking about, since it is already, I'm just trying to draw. I don't care about the size of it, if it's going to be big or small or whatever. This is like the stage where I'm not worried about the quality of the line. If you can't use this one to draw like clean lines, if that's what you're actually talking about, okay, since it's tilted, don't use a tilted one. Just use the mapping pen, which is a pretty good. Pressing lightly or big or hard, lightly or hard, light or hard, and do the stabilization to 100. That will make a lag. Whatever brush you have a lag, it will take some time to adjust the cleanness of the the lines. So I'm using, most of the time, I'm using calligraphy or texture pen, okay, for the sketch, to make a rough sketch. And then I drop the opacity and then go for the mapping pen to draw a clean line. That's all. Yeah, I use the mapping pen for most of the time. When someone asks for a clean line art, I go for the mapping pen. Otherwise, I sometimes use the calligraphy also for the clean lines, but since I'm used to it, I drop the size to the minimum and then go for clean lines. Whatever. It doesn't care, but I like to make it free, to be free while drawing a gesture. So let's now go to uh, before I went to live, I already have done this part, but let me do it again. Okay, we have these ones. So let's go back to what we have actually said while drawing for the flowy lines and the rib cage and whatever we're gonna talk about. So if you want to draw a gesture, or if you want to draw a human figure, as I said, I always start, I'm having in mind observing and analyzing everything. I have the perspective on my mind. I have also the wrapping lines. I have the overlaps. I'm gonna talk about the overlaps right now. Everything is just in my mind, and I'm trying to combine both, because actually there are people that tr- go for a gesture, and then after a gesture they go for the construction, which is mannequinizing the human figure, and then after that they add the anatomy. I like to combine the human figure with the construction part, the stage, and the gesture stage. And keep in mind, whatever I'm doing is actually I know how I'm going to go to the final product. So I know that when I'm drawing a head like this and just going for a wrapping line showing that she's actually looking up, I know that from this stage, I know how I'm going to draw the head. All right. So when I'm doing a line like this, showing the gesture, and this is the stretch I'm talking about, these all the lines I'm using to draw a gesture, and then add some, as you see, wrapping lines from here, and also wrapping lines like this. What you see in here, you might think that, oh, I can do that. And from here, I just go and adjust some parts. And then, guys, I go for the final product from here. I add a wrapping line here, another one here. It looks so messy, but it gives me like a just a start, a starting point to show me if something is incorrect, like if this one needs to go a little bit to down, if I need to adjust the the proportion I'm adjusting from here. And someone is going to say I struggle a lot with the proportions. I don't, for me, guys, I just go with my instinct. I don't go for a like the head and the from the head to the rib cage, or the from the rib cage to the pelvis we need two heads and that stuff. I actually don't do that. Okay, I constantly, while drawing, I just go and fix that as if I'm seeing it like from my own perspective. Since I sometimes I like to make the torso kinda short and the legs kinda long. I like it this way. All right. Others don't like it that way. And noticing mistakes about the body of the poor function. Yeah, that's why. That's why. For me, this one is acceptable. For me, this is acceptable. But I constantly trying to manage, trying to fix. So now, as you see, this is like the final one. These wrapping lines. Now, as you see here, the stretch and the bench helps me a lot while showing the plans and the perspective and so on. Okay, guys. So the hardest part, and I'm pretty sure it is the hardest part, how you can actually add anatomy to this stage. Because actually, when I finish this stage, I go for the anatomy, like this one, as you see in here. From here, I go for the anatomy. Okay, now, do I have the whole knowledge of anatomy? No, I don't. All right, maybe I have 30 or 40% of the anatomy and how actually things attach to each other. But I'm going to tell you something about learning anatomy. First of all, guys, when I started to learn anatomy, I did not learn it as like this is the name of the bone and how the shape of it, and I took every single bone or every single organ like for itself and so on. No, guys, I tried to learn that again, even the every part I used to have, or I used to make it simple. I used to construct it in a way that will help me to go for the final product. Guys, I'm not drawing zombies. I'm not drawing very highly realistic looking bodies. So I don't even need to know how many reps or how many things that I showed the shape of the knee itself. Guys, when I draw like a knee, I just go like this. This is like if this is the leg we are trying to go for the knee, I just go like this. This is the knee I'm trying to draw. That's all. For me, this is convenient. Okay, guys? I don't even know how the knee looks like, how it is attached to. I don't know. I just don't know. Yeah, fake it till you make it, basically. That's why, yeah. It is, never actually need to know the full and have just enough detail. Yeah, that's why I'm saying. That's what I'm actually saying. When I'm go for the neck, I don't even know what about the neck? But what I do know that when I attach the neck here, I need those two tendons. That's all. I know from the profile view that these are tendons from the back of the ears that going to the sternum. This part which is looks like a tie, and this is the shape of the neck. That's all I know about it. Because when I draw the neck, I just go for a shape of the head. Let's say this shape of the head, the ears, and I go for something like this. That's all, guys. These tendons, and I don't actually draw it this way. I even go simpler and simpler. I just go for it like this. This is the chin, the head, and I'm just some indications. Is it actually right? I don't care. At least it looks believable. And that's all, guys. That's how I draw a neck. Some people actually need to know everything about the anatomy. I don't blame them, and they can do whatever they want. Alright? But for me, that's enough. That's even more than enough. But what I'm actually trying to learn when I try to learn anatomy, I ask myself some simple questions. I have a head and I have a shoulder line. What I'm trying to learn is how I am going to attach these to each other. That's the first thing I ask myself. How am I going to attach the head to the shoulders? I'm going to attach it with a neck. Then I go to study the neck. How the neck looks like. How the neck looks like. It looks like this. It is going kinda back if we're talking like a profile view. So that means the head is protruding outside like this. And this is the neck. Okay, what else? There is a tendon from here, from the back of the ears, two tendons. And then I just stop. That's it. The tendon starts from here as a cylinder. I treat it as a cylinder that starts from the back of the ears to this part. Now I know it is attached from the back of the ears. I have one end. What about the second end? They say that's how I learn anatomy. An organ leads me to another one. So the tendons are actually attached to something here. What is this point? It introduced me to another organ which is called the collarbones. And then I go and study the collarbone. The collarbone actually introduces me to how it is attached to the shoulders. The shoulders is attached like by a bone. I don't know what's the name of the bone for the arms and so on. So that's how I try to learn the shape. Listen, the shape of the body or the parts, the anatomy itself. I don't even know anything about muscles. I don't even know about anything about all the tendons, bones, and everything. But I know enough to make it believable. That's all. That's what I'm trying to do. Fake it till you make it, as you said. That's how I do it. And from here, I start drawing. I zoom in, but not too much, not like this. I'm not going for details because I'm still not that sure about the proportions. Alright, guys, and I also don't go for the final product from here. And what I mean by a final product, if you're gonna turn this one into like a human being, eyes, nose, mouth, and so on. So I have a stage before, which is like the mannequin itself, which is this part. I'm just trying to figure out things like this. Drawing just the whole contour, contour, and then determines like this, like the ears right here, if I might say so. This is the neck attached here. I know these are the collarbones, and so on, guys. Then after that, after I finish what I'm actually trying to draw, I go for details. Now I'm gonna draw the eyes in here, these like the brows, the eyes, nose and mouth, and so on. Alright? But most of the time I do studies. I just don't go for the final product because I don't even have time. Alright? But there are some things that I actually maybe inspired or have learned from Josh Black. I learned the importance of rapping lines from him. I learned actually the importance of how you approach from him. I already haven't had enough, but I'm trying to, trying to manage. Okay, man, take your time, enjoy. And again, I drop the opacity and then go for something like this. You might even try to make a try or a two or whatever. Here is the shoulders again. These parts. You have the chest going like this. I know there are lots of parts that needs some attention, but that's how I actually do it, guys. Bye, man. Yeah, just black is just awesome. And as you see from here, I'm trying to figure out the proportions again, because sometimes it might end up not looking good. All right, this one is kind of and I draw the shoulders like this, just like this, going down, adding the flowy parts. I don't usually draw like the hands and the foot and stuff, but you have to. Now, as you see, I don't stick that much with the same one, but as you see in here, this is kinda too big. The This part needs to go a little bit down. You might exaggerate it a little bit too, and that's all. Also here. That's how, guys, I approach drawing human figures. From here, guys, you can start adding clothes, even drawing the clothes she has right now. Alright? I always drop the opacity and then go again and again and again so I can draw a better looking human figure. You don't need to go for everything I'm drawing, but you might need to adjust like a couple of times. This way. Mm-hmm. These like the clothes. And so on, guys. She might use like a dress or something. And the dress also going to follow these wrapping lines helps a lot while drawing clothes. Alright. If she's going to wear like a socks or a stocking, it's going to follow this way. This one is going to follow the other way. Okay. She might wear that same top she's wearing right now, and it's going to follow this shape. This is like if you try to draw and then manage to add like this kind of shapes. You can make her wear whatever you want her to wear. If you want her to wear a shorts, then you go this way. These are shorts, but be sure that it follows the curves. This one is going to follow this curve, and this one is going to follow this curve. Alright? So wrapping lines is important when it comes to drawing clothes. If you're gonna continue drawing the legs and you're gonna start like socks from here, it's going to be like this. Alright, guys, I don't think I have many more things to say, but things that you need to draw not always going to be straightforward like this. So I might go for a different approach when I'm drawing like a poses, which is like leaning, poses like sleeping, is sitting. So I don't go for like the shoulder line and the hips and so on. I just go for a big contour line for gestures, like saying she's going down like this, and here is the leg. She's standing there. Here is her foot. If she's actually sitting like this. So I might go for a whole body shape first and then adjust while drawing. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to draw, but I'm saying that not every single pose gonna be posed like this one. But if you are trying to learn, don't go for the hardest. Just go for these ones till you know everything about drawing a human body, everything that you need to know to draw a human body, and then you can try any other poses. All right, guys. Thank you so much, and of course, I'm gonna see you again. I hope that that episode or that live stream I hope it was helpful. So take care, guys. Goodbye.